Hi, I'm F.A. Huffman, author of Love by Death, and today we're going to talk about an interesting writing tool I've discovered not long ago. Now, I did not use this when I was writing Love by Death, but I am using it for character development and changing tides. This tool is tarot cards. Now, I know there's probably a lot of misconceptions about tarot cards. We're not doing any psychic readings or anything. We're using it to help create characters and plots and different things like that. So the only futures you may be predicting is that of your characters. I've got two decks of cards of my own. One of them has kind of the regular pictures on it. The other one is a tattoo deck. This is one deck. I'll explain why I have it in two separate parts. My other deck is MIA. For some reason, I could not find it. I was going to use that one because it has like the regular drawings on it, whereas this one doesn't. Just to make it easier for you to understand, but what can I do? Can't find it. Anyways, the reason I discovered tarot for writing is I found this book. Hopefully you can see it. Tarot for Writers by Corrine Kenner. Hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. And a metaphysical shop near my house. And it spoke to me. And I had to get it. And it's fun to do. Anyways, I want to go over the history of tarot first, a little bit. Tarot was first introduced in the mid-15th century in Europe and was a card game. And hopefully I'm going to pronounce this one correct, Austrian Conegrufen, I don't know, I probably butchered that word, a French tarot, and Italian tarocchini. The games were kind of similar to the bridge that we have now. They were first used as a form of divination in the 18th century as cartomancy or tarotology, and special decks were created for these occult practices. There are 78 cards in the deck, which is more than a regular 52 deck card. 22 of them make up the major arcana, and 56 of them make up the minor arcana. The minor arcana is a lot like a regular deck of cards. There's 4 suits, and each suit has 10 cards plus 4 royalty sets. The major arcana represents the spiritual and karmic lessons in life, and the minor arcana reflects trials and tribulations. But for your writing, that's probably not going to play all that much into it. The major arcana is your stereotypical characters and stories. You have the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and the World. They are all numbered 0 from 22. The minor arcana, like I said earlier, are made up of 4 suits: Cups, Wands, Pentacles, and Swords. Each suit has 10 cards, 10 through Ace, and contains the court cards King, Queen, Knight, and Page. Help with the interpretation of the cards. The suits have a connection to, have an elemental connection. So for Cups, it's associated with water. You can remember that because cups can hold water. Cups are connected to emotions and relationships. The suit of Sword is associated with air. Sorry, I have cats. You can remember that swords and air go together because you wave a sword around in the air. Of course, if you know what you're doing, you don't just wave it around in the air. It represents a person's actions and thoughts. Wands are associated with fire. This can be remembered because most wands are depicted as a branch off of a tree. You can light wood on fire. This represents motivations and passions. And lastly, the suit of pentacles is associated with earth. I'm sure there's a better way to remember last element left, so Pentacles and Earth. They look like little coins. They kind of look like the sun as well. But Pentacles often represents material possessions and finances, ergo coins. The great thing with tarot cards is they're all illustrated. So when it comes to interpreting them, all you really have to do is look at the illustrations. A lot of beginners will just use the major arcana for their tarot for writing, just to make it easier, but I like using the whole deck even when I first started using it for writing, because it gives you a lot more information than just your, typecasted characters. But still with the subject of major arcana, let's look at the Death card. It is often the most misused card when people use it in like TV shows and movies love to use tarot, and the big bad card is the Death card, as you can see here. On a regular tarot deck that has the original drawings, you would see you have Death riding on a white steed, carrying a flag. A woman stands at the front waiting for him in the background, and you still have most of that on this one. You've got Death, you've got your woman, and in the background you've got a sun rising in the back. And that sun is why the Death card isn't a bad card. It doesn't symbolize actual death. Now granted, if you're doing this for writing and you draw the Death card for a certain character, maybe to you that does mean you need to kill off the character. That's up to you. But in general, Death does not mean death. Death is actually a good card. It represents something is coming to an end, that change is coming, or that there's going to be some sort of transformation. It's kind of a beginning card, not an end card. Granted, things do have to end for new beginnings to happen, so, whatever, take it as real. So it's not all that negative. Alright, moving on to the minor arcana. The first one we're going to look at is the Ten of Cups. This is my favorite card for some reason. I don't know. I discovered that coming up with this. On a regular Ten of Cups, you would see, well, like this one, you have your rainbow of cups here. There's 10 of them. And then you'd have a family, which is represented here by the hands, and the woman has love tattooed on her hand. And on the other one, there's young children playing around, and then you have their home. This card represents marriage, happiness, alignment, harmony, and that can all be seen in the picture. Marriage, because they're married, or at least in a relationship. It can also, for your writing and everything, symbolize a child, because children in it, it's easy to see that. Next, let's look at one of the swords. This is a 3 of Swords, and this particular one looks a lot like the original. The original just has the clouds at the top, and it's kind of raining in the background, and then there you have a large heart being pierced by 3 swords. And this one often represents rejection, painful separation, grief, sorrow, heartbreak. Once again, swords stabbing a heart. Pretty easy to figure that one out. Next up, we have the 5 of Pentacles. In the original one, you got the clouds and snow coming down, and a woman wrapped in a robe walking across the street in front of a store. Fairly similar to this one too. Although that doesn't look like a store, that's more, to me, a church. But this one represents rejection, or no, excuse me, that one was the swords. It could represent poverty, isolation, financial loss, worry, insecurity, those sorts of things. This one has a bigger meaning than the others because poverty and insecurity aren't necessarily the same thing. But you can just infer by the way the woman is holding her robe. She could either be poor or she's just holding herself together because she's not sure about herself. She doesn't, you know. And lastly, we'll look at the King of Wands. A king sitting on his, in the original, he's sitting on a throne. But you've got your king, he's holding his wand. He represents honor, natural leadership, vision, and entrepreneur. Which, these cards, the ones with king, queen, page, and knight, they can be a little bit harder to infer that kind of message because you've got a person and a representation of whatever suit it is. But that's where you take the elemental information. Even this has element fire in it, so, and fire is strength, you know, so that's how you can kind of help out with that. Now, if you know anything about tarot, you've probably heard of reversals, which means, like, if you drew this card and you laid it down and it's facing this way, it's upright. Reversal means it goes down that way. It's upside down. For the purpose of this, and for using it as a writing tool, you don't really have to pay attention to reversals. You can just ignore them and interpret them as if they were upright. But if you're already experienced in tarot, you can use reversals. Honestly, it's not that hard. Reversal just means the opposite of what it is upright. So if you remember Five of Pentacles, upright, I mean poverty, reversed, wealth. But that's up to you. And if you guys would like me to do more videos of going in depth on the meaning of the cards, I don't mind. It's kind of fun. Let me know in the comments below if you do. Alright, so let's move on to spreads you can use for writing. To keep things simple, I'm only going to do 2 spreads for you. The first one will be to use for a character. The second one will be for a plot. First one is a 1-card spread. And it represents a character. It's just a character. Any character. It could be one that you've already come up with, one you haven't come up with, whatever you want it to be. So I'm going to actually do it here. So these are a bit hard to shuffle. But all you need to do is grab your deck of cards, shuffle them up best you can. Hopefully they're smaller and can actually fit in your hand. And once you feel they're good and shuffled, which I won't go crazy here, then you would draw the top card. So let's see what we have here. My top card is the 9 of Cups. So that represents a character. So I got the 9 of Cups. In the original picture, it has a dude sitting in the front, drunk off his butt. I'll keep it nice. So you could take him, for example. That could be your character. It could be a drunk guy. Or somebody that's really full of life. If you wanted to, and you're having little problems interpreting it, well, I'm going to use Tarot for Writers here that I have, and look in the back of the book. She has all the information in the back, and see, she has the key symbols, keywords, and writing prompts for it. But, well, she has it that the reversal is drunkenness, and the upright is social events, parties, gatherings, a comfortable mix of business and pleasure. She says, as a classic character, the figure in the 9 of Cups might be one of the world's oldest stock characters. The bartender's role doesn't need explanation or development. So instead of viewing the person in the card as a drunk, you can see it as a bartender, like she says. Really, it's up to you. So we'll give our character, make him a bartender, and he's listening to everybody's problems over drinks. That simple. Alright. So, for the next one. The next one is a 3-card spread. Again, shuffle up your cards until you're happy with it. And these 3 cards, for your writing purposes, is going to represent your beginning, middle, and end, your most basic plot outline. And I do have 2 blog posts on using tarot for writers already. The first one is the basics, and it goes into an explanation for each of the major arcana and goes more in depth on the minor arcana and the elemental meanings and everything. I don't believe I shared spreads in that one, but I did one just a couple of weeks ago that has 5 different spreads, and it actually has a spread too for Freetog's Pyramid. For begin, you know what I'm talking about. So you draw your 3 cards. So my first one would be, you lay them out left to right, beginning, middle, end. My first one for the beginning would be Ace of Swords. My middle is the 3 of Cups. And my end is the 3 of Pentacles. Alright, so I'm going to go back to this to help you out. Well, to be fair, it helped me out too. But it's the Ace of Swords represents decisiveness, intellect, logic, judgment, discrimination, triumph, and potency. Let's say, because Ace of Swords could represent potency. Let's say that a young woman has become pregnant. That can be the beginning. So our middle is the 3 of Cups. Like a lot of the cups, represents parties and things like that. In the original drawing, it shows 3 women with 3 cups and everything. So we've got a woman, she's pregnant, but maybe she doesn't know she's pregnant. So she's partying a lot, which isn't good for a pregnant woman. But for the sake of this reading and our plot points, we'll say, starts out, she's pregnant, she gets pregnant, doesn't know she's pregnant, and she's partying. And so the 3 of Pentacles. 3 of Pentacles, during her partying, she discovers she's pregnant. And turns out, because the 3 of Pentacles can mean skill, creativity, talent, ability, renown, nobility, elevation, dignity, rank, aristocracy, power, fame, and fortune. So, a pregnant lady who's a partier. Let's change that. That's why it's important to interpret all the cards before you start trying to make a, instead of saying she's a partier, let's just say she frequents parties, because she knows she's pregnant, and she knows who got her pregnant, but he does not know. And through the party, she's trying to find him, because it was a one-night stand, and she met him at a party. So, through her parties, she finds out who he is, and finds out why he's been trying, to avoid her, because she's a commoner, he's not. He's noble. So, but she tracks him down, and he'd been thinking about her the whole time. And in the end, she lets him know that she's pregnant, and they get married, and she becomes a noble. So, there's a simple beginning, middle, and end. You can flesh it out as you will. Well, that, roughly done like this, it can sound kind of boring, but that's where your writing comes in to make it not boring and make it more interesting. So, that's the basics for now. I will do other videos on other spreads that goes in more depth, like the Celtic Cross. That has a lot of information, but it's my favorite. I would like for you to try out these techniques. Grab you a deck of tarot cards and comment your little stories below, whether it's a beginning, middle, and end, or if it's just one character. I'd love to see how it works out for you, and if you enjoy using it as a writing tool. And if you like the video, as always, give a thumbs up and subscribe to stay up to date, and I'll see you soon.